ever made a pros and cons list? Of course you have. Everyone has. Whether you've actually written it out on paper or you've thought it through in your mind or you've discussed it with someone else, we've all made a pros and cons list. And that pros and cons list almost always involves a decision that we have to make. Sometimes it's wants, sometimes it's needs, but it always involves a decision that we have before us. It's something that we have to choose, manage, or decide. But the Bible tells us the value of waiting upon the Lord, right? And Pastor Donovan shared a little bit about that this past week. And even last week, we talked about that a little bit with Hannah and her time of just staying in the temple, pleading for the Lord to give her a child, just only so that she could preemptively and follow through in the promise of returning that child back to Jesus. We see all through the Bible where there's times and moments and seasons and years where people have to just wait upon the Lord. Abraham waited 100 years before he could be a father. Rachel waited 14 years before she could marry the man that she loved, and many years thereafter till she could bear him a son. There are so many points where we see the waiting. And what we see in that is a few things. In the waiting, God's timing is always perfect. In the waiting, God never wastes the waiting. He is always working in the waiting to reveal His glory. What we have to do in the waiting is the hardest part, is relinquish control, is to release the desire to know the end result before I'm there, is to release the desire to know God's ultimate plan and trust that He's working while I'm waiting, is to walk every day in faith, knowing that Almighty Creator cares so much for me that everything He's doing is to glorify Him, further His kingdom, and is in His perfect timing. So I encourage you today, if you're in the waiting, enjoy the waiting. I know that's hard, but rest in it, because in the waiting is when God's doing the working that makes the waiting worth it. Is when God's doing the things that only He can do, the miraculous, the supernatural. He's pulling pieces together from the puzzle that you didn't even know were in the puzzle. And all you have to do is rest in the waiting. Today is a great day to take a deep breath and know that your God loves you, He cares for you, He sees you, and He is working all things together for the good of those who love Him. Put Him first.